Stan, can you? Yeah. Yeah, around noon or something. Oh, can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me? Can you? What, they're doing something, I don't know.
But yeah. Routine. Yeah.
Woman in the house.
Okay,
Now we can't hear her.
okay, Linda's muted right now. Okay.
Anybody know any good jokes?
Get in trouble that way.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
All right, I can hear you. All right, I think we're ready this time.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
All right, when Gay says we're ready. We'll go. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call to order this meeting for March 9th of the Township Council, which is our first municipal budget meeting for 2023. Gay, can you call the roll?
Here.
Here,
Here.
Here. Here.
posted on the township website and in the municipal building. Please bring please draw to the web. Which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to start with some remarks from our Chief Financial Officer on the budget to give us an overview. Thank you. John?
Good morning and welcome. Good morning and welcome to the kickoff meeting of the 2023 budget. I would like to first thank Tina Zabucci from the Division of Local Government for going in front of the Local Finance Board and getting appropriation exemptions for this year. By doing so, she allowed West Windsor to be under the appropriation cap by about $9,000.
John, I'm having a little trouble, like if you could move the mic.
Okay, is that better?
That's good. Thank you.
All right. I'll just put it closer. By her going in front of the Local Finance Board and getting appropriation exceptions for this year, West Windsor was able to be under the appropriation cap by around $9,000. I will speak to more about this during the March 21st meeting. Please open your books to the front page. Well, there's a listing of all increases and decreases of the 2023 budget appropriation, and there's also a list of budget revenues that increased and decreased for 2023. The total overall budget for 2023 is $50,647,886.69. That represents a 15.78 increase from 2022, or rounded about 6.9 million. The good news is, even though we had a 15.78% increase in appropriations, we did have a very good year with revenues, and we were able to propose a 0 property tax rate increase and still maintaining a full service community. We recommend that a cap-based ordinance for appropriations be approved, which will allow us to be $9,000 under the appropriation cap. Total salary and wages budgets increased a little over $1 million at 7%. Total other expenses increased by 5.8% or 21%. The amount to be raised by taxation increased by 1.56%. The budget was presented to council on February 28th. On March 28th, I will be presenting an emergency temporary budget to council for approval. We are scheduling a budget introduction on April 10th meeting, and hopefully a budget public hearing and adoption on May 22nd. We are self-review this year, so there'll be some other resolutions that need to be approved by council on the April 10th meeting. We do have a couple miscellaneous open items that are not part of the packet, and that's we have applied for a distracted driving overtime enforcement grant. Various DOT grants that will be added to the capital ordinance, a fire grant that also will be added to the capital ordinance, and administration and the mayor will definitely give a draft copy several weeks before introduction so council can go over the capital ordinance. Just a reminder that our capital budget really is a management tool and it can be changed at any time. When you pass the ordinance, that's what creates the budget for the capital items. So this is a working document as far as the capital items go, and it can be changed at any time. It just requires a resolution. So just keep that in mind, that this is just a working document as far as the capitals goes. The state allows us a lot of leeway because things change from month to month. I also want everyone to go to page 2 in their book, and that's a little chart that shows last year's tax rate at 0.428 and this year's proposed tax rate of 0.428, and also shows the average assessed value for 2023 of $524,196. A net increase of 0. This entire book is available online for anybody who wants to take a look at it. It's a 200-page document, and it has been uploaded to our website. Just a reminder, we're going to be going over our OE budgets and our capital items at the moment with our departments, and salary wages will be discussed on the meeting of March 21st. So with that said, I'm going to introduce Ken Jacobs.
John, if anybody has any questions for John in general on the budget overall before we go on? I would like a little bit more of a broad explanation. We are looking at a almost 16% increase, which is unusual.
Yes,
and maybe just for whoever may be listening in the public, perhaps, what were the major drivers for that makes this year so different?
Well, that's why we have the March 21st meeting where we discuss revenues, fund balance, cap ordinance, and things of that nature, where we can discuss the major increases or decreases. You know, that's our schedule right there, is on March 21st. I mean, in your book right there it gives you increases and decreases. We can go over that on March 21st.
So March 21st, we'll go over the
We'll go in
overall.
detail. Yep.
All right.
We're scheduled for revenues, fund balance, cap ordinance, local exam.
Okay, and can we get sent that schedule? Because I don't know.
It was emailed to you.
Okay. No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Next meeting may have it does it, so on and so forth.
Okay, because I know you had them, but we hadn't gotten them yet.
But
Right.
normally
Right.
what I do next, this goes, I send to the next one. Because if for some reason something happens, we don't go through everything, then we have to go back and recheck the department to be able to fit them into the other needs that are.
Okay, if we could just have that as drafts, because that way we'll know when to look a little bit more detail what's coming first. Thank you.
Yeah, and we normally do that on a third meeting where we discuss the revenues and then we also go into a closed session for personnel. So right now, that's where we're scheduled, personnel, revenues, fund balance, increases, cap ordinance, and local exam. Would schedule for the 21st meeting.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay?
and just one other question on the capital. I know you say it's a working document, but we don't have a lot of extra money to play with this year, and I know there's a 5%
Down payment.
down payment, so that will come out of operating expense, I believe.
Yeah, whenever you appropriate an ordinance, you have to do a 5% down payment. So for every $1,000 you appropriate, you have to come up with 5%.
So
$5.
we have to keep in mind that if you
Correct.
add $100,000, that's $5,000
Mhm.
O&E,
Yes,
and we don't exactly have a lot of money. So just everybody keep that in mind.
yes, thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ken.
Thank you. As John said, my name's Ken Jacobs. I'm the manager of Recreation and Parks. The Recreation Department run.
Hold on one second. If everybody would go to their
Oh, page-
summary sheet,
Page 6.
page 6.
Okay. So the Recreation Department, besides the pool, though, the recreational programs that we offer, special events, and youth and adult programs, the revenue for those programs go into the Recreation Trust Fund, and all the expenses for those programs come out of the trust fund. So for operating for just my, not the pool, but my department, there is no active township budget. The pool budget did see some slight increases due to the fact that the chemicals are much more expensive than they were, and also an increase in the opening and closing for the contractor that we use to do that. Everything else stayed the same in the operating budget for the pool. I'll give you a brief synopsis of our 2022. Started off the year not being able to use the schools yet because of the pandemic. We do our schedule for the summer over the winter. And because we hadn't heard from the schools yet, we decided to go totally outdoors last year, again, as we did the year before. And we added some additional programs last summer. They all worked really, really well. We used the pool for our day camp program, which included swim lessons and free swim for the kids. It was a half-day program. And then we had some afternoon programs that could make it a full day for the residents. So we had a number of people who took advantage of that. This summer, we're going to be able to be back in the schools. So we're going to be adding some additional programs back from pre-pandemic times. We haven't gotten them all back yet. I'm still working on some of the instructors, but last year we did run all of our special events that we have run in the past. The community day was rained out in May, so we moved it to September. Had beautiful weather, absolutely beautiful weather, and in talking with the mayor, we decided I think September is probably a better time. Neighboring towns, a lot of them have their community day in the springtime as well. So moving it to the fall, I think was a wise idea, and that's what we'll be doing this year. I'm trying to see what we got. We brought back the Bike Fest as well. That was the first time we had that full event since 2019. We had movie nights and trunk or treat, tree lighting, and the house decorating contest. So what we're looking for 2023 is to, continue to offer, our programs and keep our facilities looking good. Add new programs which will meet the needs of the residents. We did recently get some new members to the board and recreation commissioners. Hopefully they'll have some ideas of some new things that we could do or things that they would like to see. And always looking to increase our program participation. And we do have some capital projects that we're looking to, one, get off the board, finish up, and two, start. So, especially like the basketball, tennis courts over at Community Park. That project was started but not completed. And what they did do is going to need to be cleaned up because the paint's not taking out there. So we're aware of that. We are going to add a couple more pickleball courts over at Community Park as well. And then Hendrickson Drive Tennis Complex is going to get some crack repair and repainting. So that's 22 and 23, what we're looking to do. Like I said, the budget, we don't have a township budget for the operating for just the recreation department because of the trust fund, the monies that come in, go out. And the pool budget, like I said, had some increases due to increased costs. As far as capital goes, which is another section of the book, right, John?
Yes, that would go to page 53 of your capital section under Human Services tab.
So every year we have a $25,000 general park improvement fund. I don't know if you've been out to Community Park lately, you'll see the split rail fencing is getting replaced. We use money from capital to do that, pay for that project. So, and playground, we had some playground pieces that needed to be replaced per an inspection by the JIF. So we use this type of money to do those repairs and replacement of equipment that needs to be done. So that's the first one. And then where's is that somewhere?
The open space portion of yours would be page
Open space.
113 under open space tab.
So a portion of the open space tax is used for park development. And I believe that's $200,000. So we have that for earmarked for several different projects. I think for this year, we're looking hopefully to repave some of the roadway in Community Park because it's in really bad shape. So that's the money that from the open space tax that we have.
And I think you were getting a grant for some of the trails.
Right,
inside the park?
we applied for a grant from the state to replace the walking trail in the back section of the park, right? Hopefully we'll get that because that path is getting to be 15 years old and showing some of the wear and tear.
I know people have picked up the blocks and used them for cement blocks and stacked them and stuff like that.
Well, that's around the pavilion had some pavers that people were starting to pull out of the ground and start stacking them around and
Or
Yeah.
kids have a ball playing
Yes.
with it, which is
they use that.
dangerous, but
Well, they use the hill for sledding, but they also during the movie nights, they'll run up the hill and down the hill. And so that hill gets a lot of use.
my kids do that.
And that was
Up and down
just
the
the stockpile of the dirt that we had when we did the back part of the park and it turned into a sledding hill. So
Yeah,
that's
and I noticed that that little volleyball court that's over in Duck Pond, people are putting their dogs in there to dig in the sand and stuff like that. I don't know if there's a way.
Oh,
to-
sure. I actually spoke to our new member of the commissions lives over at the Estates of Princeton Junction. And he said they play volleyball over there all the time. They
Right.
actually, a group of them put together like their own little league and they were playing. So it was getting used. So that was a Girl Scout project to redo the courts over there, and she did a really phenomenal
That,
job.
that was an impressive job. I mean, I took a look at the stormwater control
Yeah.
stuff she put in. It was really professional. But so I don't know if there's some way to stop things like people having dogs or kids digging sand up so that it's no longer a nice court.
I mean, we can,
Yeah.
we could put a sign, but do people,
Signs are
Well,
red.
actually, I mean, maybe a sign would be 10% there. We could try.
right.
And we also have gotten a few requests for a sign that's for children. that would-
Communication board, yes.
For
It-
communication issues.
I have it. Our Public Works is putting it together to
Oh, okay.
put up at Community Park.
Oh, that's
Great.
That resident actually came to our rec commission meeting last week.
Oh,
and
okay, good.
I informed her that we've put an order in and it should be, hopefully it'll be up by the end of the week.
Okay,
Oh,
so it's not
that's-
something we need any
No.
additional money or anything
Nope.
like that. Okay, good. All right, great.
About
make
the
me-
tennis courts and pickleball courts, I know you mentioned that it's going to be redone because I have heard many complaints from residents
Yes.
who use them and they were complaining.
Yeah,
the
and
paint is really leaking
unfortunately,
out.
they're gonna have to be patient with us because the paint needs to be it needs to be a certain temperature continuously throughout the day. So I believe it's 50 degrees, but now the contractor is going to be overly cautious because they did it kind of late in the year last year and probably did it when it was not that temperature.
Oh, it
So-
was bubbling up
Yeah.
over in
the
December.
basketball court
Yes.
is absolutely terrible. The tennis
Mm-hmm.
courts are actually okay, and the pickleball courts have some spots on them. So we're aware of it. The contractor's been very responsive, but it's going to take some time before we can get out on them, and we're not going to put the nets up until we can get out there.
Until the
Yeah.
floors are done.
Okay, we don't have, so we have no idea now because we don't know what the weather's going to be
Right,
like.
it's all weather dependent.
And
right
that's going to be tennis, not Henderson too?
now. Henderson, the tennis nets are up now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that'll be fine, but the ones in community parks, so it'll be tennis, pickleball and the basketball. I know they're still playing on it.
They're
but-
still playing basketball on it. I mean, you could go
Yeah.
there and just shoot around. That's fine,
But you're not putting nets up. And then the skate park, that's been closed for a while.
skate park they were out there this week to replace some of the damaged boards. They were short a few boards, so they put a rush order. So it's still closed, but hopefully within the next couple weeks, we get that finished up.
And how about the dog park? What's the status on how's that going?
The dog park, we cleared up the burrs that were out there. Those were cleaned up the next day. If the only way we can reestablish grass out there is to shut the park down for an extended period of time. And that's not what the people who utilize the
Correct.
park want. But if we're gonna do it, we're gonna have to do that.
Well, can we shut one park down?
Yes,
and then-
absolutely. Yes.
So- And then maybe even
Yeah.
say, put up a little wire and say small dogs here, big dogs there, or something like that.
Most towns shut the parks down for the whole
Yeah,
winter.
Mercer
Yeah.
County Park shuts down their dog parks twice a
Yeah.
year for a month.
I mean, I've had people say to me, we understand you can shut the park with, if you have to
They're
shut it
happy.
down,
Right.
but yeah, so
I mean,
I guess it depends who you talk to.
Right.
Some of them will say, yeah,
Yes.
we want it done. And then I guess other people will say, why is it
Right.
closed? I don't
right.
have an answer for that.
A couple years ago, we did shut down the big dog park. We did go out and seed it and aerate it. And we did not shut it down long enough for it to reestablish.
That's, I think.
We opened it up too quickly and it didn't nothing took. I mean, what happens is my dog runs in my backyard, right?
I have 2 dogs in my backyard,
Right.
so I know exactly what.
If the grass is just a little bit wet and he's running after a ball and he
That's it.
stops, he tears up I've given up my backyard. I realize until,
I have 2
Right.
large dogs.
So-
I don't know my backyard.
So unless we shut it down and just give it the time to reestablish, we're not gonna
So,
be able to do it.
so what do we actually, what's the plan at this point for doing it?
The plan would be, once it's, the weather warms up a little bit, get Public Works. We have the equipment. Public Works has equipment. They have a aerator seeder that we can go out there and aerate and seed and shut it down for, a month. It needs at least, 4 weeks to be able to germinate.
So there will be a shutdown of a month, but are you going to try to stagger it between the two parks or?
But I would, the little dog park is not nearly as bad as the.
It's the big
Yeah,
one.
the
Yeah.
big one.
I mean, you can look out the big one, you can see just brown out there. It's
Oh,
just,
yeah,
it's
there's-
gone. There's no grass. So what I would do is I would shut down the large dog park, get that grass reestablished and open up the little dog park to everybody. I mean, and just, we could put out some information saying, please be mindful of the smaller dogs or, I mean, to rope off another section of it. I mean, that seems like an awful lot of,
Yeah, I
wait a
think,
minute.
it
Work
would
for
be-
us.
it would be dog owners' responsibility
Yeah.
in that case to,
Right.
control
Mm.
their big dogs or be careful of the younger dogs.
Right.
Smaller dogs.
so that's what, I mean, that
So the
was always
plan-
our,
Okay, to shut down large dog park, let people use small.
Yep.
And then are you going to do the small one too this year or?
then I would wait till the fall,
Okay.
maybe to do that.
That's what I was going to
Okay.
question was
Yeah.
like, maybe we do spring and fall
Yes.
that way.
Mm.
At least
Absolutely.
one of the parks
Is open,
takes the time to
Right.
let the grass grow.
right?
Yeah,
Are
And
you using heavy use resistant grass?
I leave that up to, the Public Works guys, but I'm sure they're gonna use something similar to what's on the soccer fields, something that can, take a somewhat of a beating. I mean, the other problem there is we don't have water to irrigate
Oh,
and
yeah.
if it gets dry like it was, as I recall, last 2 summers have been pretty hot and pretty dry. There's another issue. Maybe we should just astroturf the whole thing and we can be done with it.
And that would be a budget item number what?
Let's see, it's probably millions of dollars. What's $5 every? how many,
Yeah,
John?
you still have to pay it back.
and the dogs
What?
still have claws.
Yeah, yes.
So now,
Paint it green.
now you'll have.
Yeah,
pieces
we
of
could just
plastic.
spray paint it, spray paint the dirt. So,
Then
yeah, so
that's
that's, I think if we get a maintenance plan in place and do it, when we're supposed to do it every year, we should be able to, at least keep it somewhat
Manageable.
manageable. Right. It's a dog park. It's not going to be,
Correct,
pristine.
correct.
And I would like to take this time to say, please clean up after your dog, because our guys go out there and they tell me how kind of gross it is when they're cutting the grass and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
heard.
And we
I've seen-
provide bags at the park for them to clean up.
Yeah.
So we do have a water source over there that we could probably tap into to get, to at least water water the seed once we do it, but it's not something we're going to continuously be able to do.
No, you've got you have the water fountains there
Yes.
that have some, I guess it's not super pressure water.
Right.
Well, we've bought some nice hoses, just so you know, for the pollinator gardens.
That, you know where that ran from though, the
Oh, yeah, I know
bathrooms.
where they run.
So what's another,
I-
500-600 feet of hose to?
Yeah, well,
run
they run from all the way in the back. I know I run the
I
hoses
know.
myself, so, but, and then there's a piece and then that connects to that section there, so, but there is a piece that could get moved, just, yeah, you've seen them though, so you know we
Yes.
have them,
Yes.
so it's a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
All right.
Yeah, the pool. So if the pool is doing pretty well, it's being self-sufficient at this point,
Mhm.
you don't see any issues with that,
No,
and,
no, and we've, I could probably take this moment to say the pool memberships are now available.
yeah.
And we've started our spring, summer registration
I'm
yesterday.
registered already, first day.
All right.
She's a regular.
I know she's a regular. I've seen her over there.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but, okay, so we're all good with
Yep.
the pool and everything this year, and looking forward to an open season of a very enjoyable large pool with several different pools for all ages, so.
All right.
Page 114 is the pool.
114 is the pool.
114 is a poll.
114 is the pool.
We have some improvements at the pool this year.
Yes, we're gonna, the last year we painted the women's room and made some improvements to the showers. We're going to paint the men's room this year and replace some additional doors that have seen some better days over there. So
And the slide, how about the slide?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, we're painting this line.
Yep.
I gotta get to that page. I'm sorry. You guys are
114.
faster than me.
Page 114.
Thank you, John.
Let's listen to.
Yes, so the slide needs to be coded.
That gets used a lot.
Yes. And last year we were able to skate by with it and it was still functional, but now this year we're going to get that totally repainted. So it needs like I believe a silicone.
It's more than painting. It's
Yeah.
basically a rebuild.
Yeah, they actually sand it down and then rebuild it back up just so it stays, slippery because
And it's
if this wears off, they come to a screeching halt as they come around the turn.
safe
So,
to assume it will be done before we open the pool.
yes, yes.
Okay, good.
And no additional slide, correct?
No,
No. Oh.
not this time.
I did have a question on 115, which is it's put in for 2024.
Mhm.
But it says in here that they could start construction in the fall of this year.
Well, it's probably a typo.
Okay.
So it's been pushed out to 2024.
So we're looking at that possibly for 2020.
Right. I mean, with the 100,000 be appropriated, we have a balance of about 116,000 already appropriated. So we're actually starting to build a little reserve for the pool. In the past, we had nothing. It was very minor. So we're building a little reserve in case a pump blows or not like we have to do the slide. We actually have money set aside, but this builds funds up. So after next year, you may even have almost close to the money to do that other improvement, as long as we don't have a pump go or anything of that nature.
Okay.
So we've been trying to put money away each year, basically 100,000. Last year it was 100,000. This year's 100,000. I think the plan is at least 100,000 every year. So if things go well, you may have pretty close next year to having the money to do some improvements like, a lazy slide or something of that nature.
A lazy slide.
Well, splash bar.
I assume at that point, we'll kind of look and see what would be best bang for the buck or something.
I mean, I do have to say that it's kind of rare that we have major blowouts because they kind of stay on top of all that pumping stuff, and kind of do their rebuilds as they go along. So.
Okay. Yeah, there's usually not downtime or anything like
Right,
that.
right.
It's very short when there is, so.
Yeah, the company that wins the bid is really knows what they're doing.
Hmm.
That's kind of all they do.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have questions? And Linda's sitting up there quietly, so Linda also. Any additional questions for Ken? No,
No, it's
Linda?
just- Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
No, it's just whatever it takes with the dog park. It seems we discussed this year after year. Problems in getting that grass seeded or getting it rooted properly. Whatever it takes to just manage that. My family has a dog too. All the dogs in the neighborhood come over and they're running around the backyard. So I understand that, kind of pulls the grass and the roots up if it's not, seeded, germinated and allowed to really take root. Same thing with soccer fields too. Sometimes it takes a year if you plant the grass before you can use that field, so it just doesn't get ruined. So if there's any water lines or anything that you can propose or how much it would cost, if that would help with the issues over there, then let us know. Okay. Because we have pollinator gardens, we have different community, gardens too. They need water. Sometimes it gets almost like a drought, July, August. So whatever, or a big water tank on a truck. If we don't have that, maybe there's some open space money that can be used somewhere. Look for the monies. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Ken? No? All right, thank you very
All
much,
right,
Ken.
thank you very much.
Thank
Okay, if you go to page 6 on this budget summary section, you'll find a senior citizen program OE in the middle of the page.
I guess I'll start with just introducing myself. My name is Adeline Ball. I'm the manager of Senior and Social Services for the Division of Senior and Social Services, Senior Center.
Alan, can you move a little closer to the?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Again, my name is Adeline Ball. I'm the manager of Senior and Social Services and Division of Senior Social Services at the Senior Center. The Senior Center is a focal point of the community for residents 55 years of age or older, offering programs, activities, and services to our aging residents. We're open from 8 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. The staff consists of a manager, administrative assistant, bus driver, secretary, program facilitators, volunteers, and instructors. Each day is unique, but some of what we do is we provide a means to facilitate successful aging for our residents of West Windsor Township. By doing so, it's critical that we offer a warm welcome, and comfortable environment when a resident walks in. Many residents live with their parents, children, they transitioned from another town or country. And it's important for us to provide that environment for them to feel comfortable in the community and eager to participate. So some of the programs that we offer are health, wellness, fitness classes, art and humanities, education, transportation, socialization for our residents, and social services, information and referrals, as well as entertainment. Let's see. The Senior Center is open for in-person socialization. Last year, we started off as a minimal capacity. The township was also utilizing our space. So we had certain rooms that were available to the residents. So we kept it because of COVID, as well as the utilization of the township. We had it at minimal capacity. We then transitioned in June to a full capacity of residents to be able to participate in fitness activities in our activity room, as well as utilize other rooms available in the senior center. Now it's 2023 and we actually are open to all residents, and all the rooms are open to all of the residents to participate in the library or any type of activities as needed. We continue to do in-person and virtual programs for our residents that we provide, as some residents are homebound and unable to come to our center, but for residents who are uncomfortable participating at this time, we still want to be able to provide that opportunity to them, as well as doing the in-person. Let's see. So the Senior Center bus is up and running, and it's been running since the beginning of 2022. At this time, we have about 18 residents that utilize the service. The amount of bus trips vary by month, as we have seasonal residents that participate. So I would say we're actually busier in the summertime around May, June, spring, summer, where we have about at most 25 residents that we can transport. And then we'll have like a wait list of residents that, depending if someone leaves, then we can add someone on. But that's kind of our capacity depending on the time, as a lot of our socializers that utilize the bus come at specific times and they want to leave at specific times. The bus runs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. for socialization at the senior center, and Thursdays for shopping. So we provide shopping services for residents as well if they're interested, anyone that's 55 and over. Normal day today would be filled with activities. Again, as mentioned, the programs that have been that are offered. All right. Let's see. So now we can just go into the operating budget. And I just wanted to discuss what certain line items that I requested for the year of 2023. Line item 210, which is consultant services. It's a request of $6,000 extra from this past year, just because there is an increased range in local senior center instructor wages due to inflation and longevity as participating members for the senior center community. The increased wage is essential in continuing to meet the needs for our instructors and provide effective leadership. And the cost of fuel has increased as well for the instructors to be able to come to the facility. And that's about it. We also added in 2022, 4 classes, 2 fitness classes, 1 art class, and 1 language class to provide more services and get things back to what they used to be. And with that being said, that added to the cost of the budget and a request for line item 210 as well. Line item 266, which is the technical specialized equipment maintenance, is a request of an extra $1,900, just because we do have a yearly sign-in technology system that we use for our residents to come in. And that's for us to be able to keep track of how many people are coming into the senior center, but also what they're participating in. And it's a yearly subscription of $1,700. So to add more to that line item was requested.
Does that include the equipment, or is that?
Yeah, so the sign-in key that you use, that's the equipment. It's the monitor, the computer that it's registered to, and then we're able on our back end to input classes and have people sign into those specific classes and participate. And that's how we keep track of our daily numbers and yearly subscriptions. Okay, and then line item 279, which is vehicle maintenance. Last year in 2022, we had some complications with the bus where we had to shut it down for about a couple of weeks because of some issues with antifreeze and a leakage in the bus. So at this time, it's up and running after those 2 weeks, but because of the increase in cost of production, the quarterly bus washes, our yearly maintenance, and providing new tires, which need to be done every year, tire rotations, oil changes, any type of wear and tear. At this time, the bus, as of yesterday, we're at 97,000 miles, a little bit over, and regular routine maintenance will be needed continued as needed, or a replacement. And that brings us into our capital.
Go to your human services tab.
By the way, at one point before COVID, I know there were various rooms that community groups were able to use. And I guess the last group you had in there was probably zoning and planning board, and they're coming out here now. So you're not going to have us, if you will, in there anymore.
Yes.
So are you planning to open up those rooms for community groups after hours?
We're still looking at that. We have staff so that that's right now. So that
Okay, so that's not up to, that's up to administration, not really up to the seniors. Thank. Okay, thank you. And I see you do put, you're putting meals back in there. So is the plan to go back to providing meal service of some type or?
At this time, no. We will have to, because we are not contracted with the state for types of meals, we'll have to hire privately for someone to be able to prepare the meals and provide that service. So it is something in mind, but it hasn't been a high need. I actually, before going into the Capitol, I had forgot to mention, we did do a survey at the end of the year for all the residents. It was a community survey and then surveys on each instructor. And it's just for us to get a basis as to what people are looking for, if they continue to enjoy these classes or, you know, what they're looking for within our center. To be honest, I've had maybe about 5 people come to me about lunches out of the maybe 120 people that are coming into the center. So it doesn't seem at this time that it's a high need, but it's something that can be discussed in the upcoming future.
So people may just come for morning or afternoon or something.
And
so
then they leave.
so
I think the environment has changed. You know, I don't really know what it was like prior to COVID, but from what I hear, the environment has changed significantly. And what we see is that a lot of our residents are coming in to the center and then they're leaving. So they're coming in for their activities and then they're leaving. We do have our group of socializers that do come in and will stay from maybe 9 in the morning until about 12:30.
So then they leave for lunch.
So then they're leaving
they're
for
gone for the
lunch.
day and then.
And that's something that I can inquire to see if the socializers would be interested in, you know, staying a little bit longer and because lunch would be provided. But it's also, it's a cultural thing too. So it's something that I have to think about, as in, I can't do basic sandwiches anymore. It may be they may have to be different types of meals because we do have a high population of, you know, all different cultures.
Okay, so it doesn't sound like a priority right now, so.
It's something that I keep in mind, but it, you know, it's if it does become a high need, then I will consider it.
Thank you.
And do you still see the need for the virtual classes? Is there any change
So there,
that you have seen, noticed, if more people are actually willing to come in person, or they're still continuing to do more virtual?
we're starting to see more people come into the center and feeling more comfortable coming in. But we do have those individuals that still, you know, want to be virtual. So we do have one technology that we're using. It's meant for like smaller rooms. So we've been utilizing that for our Spanish class. So we do have some residents that are actually only coming in virtually, and then that will that come in person. And this owl provides you know, all interaction for them to be able to communicate with each other.
So those
Hand
sessions
in
are more
hand.
hybrid, so there's an
Mhm.
in-person class going on as well as the virtual at the same time?
Correct. Yeah, it's a hybrid class. And what I'm hoping is to find, we were in the process in the beginning of like 2021, maybe early 2022, looking for another hybrid option for the activity rooms for fitness classes. I have yet to find a piece of technology or a system that will be effective for the instructor to be able to instruct. But I'm going to continue to work with, I just reached out to StarNet to see if we can work with them to see if we can find a piece of technology that will work, because I know there are some individuals that do want to participate in, you know, actively in the classes, but being virtual.
Anyone have any questions for this part of the, Linda, did you have anything for?
Yeah, well, first, you know, when you have a vehicle that has 97,000 miles on it, you're gonna get all sorts of, you know, problems. This belt goes, you get leaks, you know, new tires.
I think we'll get to the Capitol
Oh,
later.
all right, okay, all right. Yeah, all right. The other thing was the $6,000 increase is that just for the current instructors, or have you added more programs? And,
It's for the current instructors, and actually the plan is to add at least one or two classes.
okay, what is the percentage increase in that line item from like this last year to this year, say?
It's on the right-hand side.
I'm on vacation.
It's like 10.58%.
A 10.58, okay,
A little over 10%.
okay.
And
All right.
last year you increased 4 classes, so that's why it skews that percentage a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, let's move on to capital.
Sure.
Okay. So on
Page-
page, oh, sorry.
That's okay. Page 53,
Under,
actually, hold on.
Before.
Let's go to page 52 first, even though it's not part of this year's capital budget. It's for the senior transportation bus, which is
Right.
scheduled for 2024.
yeah, that's what I saw before.
Okay, generally, these buses have a useful life to about 150,000 miles. That's why we put a little extra money in the budget for the maintenance. The good news is, the county community development director contacted West Windsor last week. And there's a possibility that the Mercer County might be buying some buses for about 4 or 5 municipalities, and we're on that list. So we're hoping that maybe, they may actually purchase a bus. There's still nothing in stone, but, they have reached out to us. So, hopefully we can get a bus from the county.
So if, right now, we've got 2024 next year
Correct.
replacement, but if we can get it sooner or even later for free,
Yes,
we'll go for it. Yeah.
yes, because that was the number one
Mhm.
request from towns, and was buses for senior transportation. I think there was 4 or 5 other towns that also asked for them.
That bus would be in addition to what we have.
Yes,
We'll be able to
which we would
transfer
probably
it
keep
to-
this bus as a backup, so this way when you do maintenance or if there's any problems. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Okay, go ahead. So the 2023 capital.
54.
So for 54, it's just general improvements and the dollar amounts of 25,000 each year.
This is the money we put away every year just so we don't have any spikes and we can, fix things as they break. We presently have about 49,000 sitting in that
Yeah.
account, so. Okay. And I think the last one is page 57.
Correct.
The 57 is just, senior center office furniture. It's a request of 5,000 every year, just for any type of wear and tear, or replacing of chairs and tables.
Okay, anyone have any more questions for Adeline? No, Linda, any more questions? Up there?
No, I'm glad that, the county's doing with the buses, but whatever you can do to get that locked in, because to miss a whole nother year and, spend a lot of money on repairs and different things. So whatever influence the township has on the county to get a new bus would be greatly appreciated.
And I just wanted to say that I've been getting these senior newsletters and they're really great that you keep everybody updated. Not only is there a monthly newsletter, but every time there's going to be a concert or any kind of event or something where it's coming up the next day, we get there's reminders that go out. And I think that really is a big improvement. And I think a lot of people appreciate it. So thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you, Al.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're gonna go to finance, which is on page 2. And that budget is flat, no increases from the prior year. Any questions on finance? Okay, I will go to the assessors. The assessor couldn't make the meeting and and won't be available for the next couple meetings. So I will, assessor's OE budget is also flat with 0 increase. That's on page 3. Any questions on that? And Kelly's here for the collection of taxes, and she can introduce herself.
Sorry. My name is Kelly Montesinos. I am the tax collector of West Windsor Township. Our operating budget is flat. Mainly, we are responsible for the collection of the tax and sewer levy. We handle requests from the public about their senior programs, the property tax reimbursement. There's been a lot of questions this year about the change in the homestead benefit to the anchor program. The residents are very pleased with the drive up mailbox outside to drop the tax and sewer payments off. We get lots of compliments on that. And our percentage of collection for last year was 99.7. So you really can't get too much better than that. Otherwise, I mean, pretty.
And that other 0.3%, that's where that's becomes a revenue thing later on, or
Well, it's 0.0 up like
But-
3 because you're 99.7.
99.7.
So it goes for the reserve for uncollected taxes for next year, which
3%. Yeah.
Yeah, what happens is if you don't pay your 2022 taxes by, let's say, September of this year, 2023, then we have a tax sale that we have usually in the beginning of December or late November. And then people bid on that and we get our full taxes. So within 2 years, we get 100%.
Yeah, last year we had 8 residents that
Yeah,
were
it's
on
very
the
much.
tax sale list and they were primarily for sewer. I think you had 1 for taxes. Sewer is like, there's a lot of collection that occurs more so with sewer because with taxes, the mortgage company pays a good percentage of the taxes here in West Windsor. Let's say like 50% or so. So there's not as much of a delinquency there. The sewer does, where then we send out notices, we do email reminders. Anytime a tax and sewer bill is due, we send them out before the quarter, during the quarter. Then we send out delinquent notices monthly after that to work on the collections.
So it's mostly of people forgetting or.
Yeah, I just think that
not
it's like,
understanding it.
yeah.
We sent
Yeah,
out a
sometimes-
notification and said that they could pay both at the same time.
Yeah, like, so I
Does that
started
help?
doing
Does
them
that help?
together. So last year I started in August when we send out the mailings because everyone receives their tax and sewer bill in July. So last year I started saying, hey, when you pay your taxes, pay your sewer bill at the same time. Therefore, they can go in the same envelope, use one stamp. So I have seen a difference in that. And I did the same thing again for the February quarter because the sewer is only due in September and March. So really it's the August quarter and the February quarter where we're having the sewer payments come in.
Okay, so that's helped with the people that forgot and stuff like that.
Yeah, because with the sewer, sometimes when you get the bill in July and the September one is right there, but then
Mm.
the following one, people forget.
Yeah, we have a lot of residents that pay both stubs at the same time. It's whatever, works for each and every different household. Some budgets are different than others,
Right.
but
But 8 on how many line items?
for sewer, we have 7,433 line items.
So it's pretty good.
And then we have 9,159 tax line items. So, but sewer is going to probably be seeing some increases in the line items with the new housing developments going in. So there'll be more revenue for sewer there.
More expenses too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Can't forget that.
Anybody have any questions on one of our everybody's favorite thing, which is tax collection? But you do it with a smile, I'll say that.
I try.
Yeah, we got to take money. No, Linda, did you have any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly.
All right, thank you.
I assume there was no capital there, right?
No capital for finance, no capital for assessment.
Right.
No capital for tax collection. The next one would be administration's line item is also flat. So no increase for 2023. That's on page 2. Any questions?
Ends on page 2.
Now, we do have Brian coming up for buildings and grounds, and he's also going to discuss the IT budget, which is part of administrations.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Good.
All right, the other budget would be the mayor's budget, OE, which is also flat. Which is on page 2 also. And it's in the middle of the page. No capital. Any questions?
Anybody questions? No, we can move along.
Okay, Brian, introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian Aronson. I'm the Facilities Maintenance Manager for the Township, and I oversee the Building and Grounds Department, as well as supervise the network and IT staff. Some of the major accomplishments from last year that we were able to complete include the installation of the emergency generator at our police department. We also completed the professional engineering design for the emergency generator at our health department, and that project is currently out to bid. We were able to begin demolition activities for the Sensoni house across the parking lot. We were able to recable the senior center computer network, entire system. We also installed some security upgrades, including card access, emergency notification and security cameras at our Public Works, Senior Center, and Health departments. And then lastly, and most importantly, we were able to complete the multi-year municipal building renovation project. We're about 96-97% complete during that project. The contractor has some minor punch list items that they're working on to complete, but we're pretty much wrapped up and finally opened back up to the public. As I'm sure everyone else is glad that's done.
With the grand opening upcoming.
I'm sorry?
With the grand opening upcoming.
Yes, with the grand opening upcoming on March 29th. There's going to be an open house, I believe, starting at 3 p.m. So, yep.
Yeah. But could you do a little, I'm always a little confused, which I should be by now. Some things are done by DPW and some things are done by your staff, particularly I would guess for outdoors. So could you give a little just discussion on how that works?
Yeah, so my staff, we pretty much are responsible for the outdoors of the snow removal for the municipal complex itself, where Public Works does the remaining other township facilities. That's kind of the difference between the two of us for buildings and grounds.
And also what about the plantings and the
Public Works handles all of that.
So the only outdoor you would do would be the municipal snow removal, like salt to
Correct.
taking
Yes.
care of keeping it safe outside, but not the plantings and stuff would be
No,
DPW.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions for any capital projects that we were
Can we go
working
through
on?
Well, you
Uh,
want to do
yeah.
your
We
OE
can,
budget?
well,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Do you want page that's on?
Okay, you want to do buildings and grounds first?
Sure.
That would be page 10 in your book, page 10.
So I have requested an increase in my building and grounds operating budget this year. There are several factors that led to that. Last year, we had increased costs with regards to our portable toilet rentals in the parks. We spent more than double what we had originally budgeted for. We also had to go out for public bidding for our HVAC monthly maintenance contract. That money was flat for the past 3 years. Last fall, we rebid it, and those prices did come in increased than what we normally have. And then finally, we were seeing increased costs regarding to maintenance for the West Windsor Arts Center as well as the Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Company. Both of those budget line items, I believe, were at least 1.5 times of what we had budgeted. And I believe the PJ Firehouse was twice of what we had budgeted. Do you want me to get through line item by line item, John?
That's
Or
where we see the 57.84%.
Yeah, it's
It's a little under 50.
it's about a 13% increase overall on 150. It went from 155,775 to 175,775. So roughly a $20,000 increase overall.
Can you just comment on why the Arts Center, that budget went up?
sure. So last year, we had incurred costs with regards to there were some issues that were flagged during the annual fire inspection, which we had to abate. We also had to do some repairs on the front bluestone steps. We also had some service calls for the front door locks. They had requested some additional keys, as well as replacing a portion of the one door handle that had broken. That was pretty much the majority of it. We do have an annual elevator inspection fee for the lift over there, which comes out of that budget every year. But the majority of it had to do with the annual fire inspection.
Are utility costs for that building flat, or have they gone way up?
Utility,
Actually, there was a slight decrease because of the pandemic, but now they're starting to go back up to pre-pandemic levels. So that's something we need to discuss at a later date because their lease is up at the end of this year. So that's something that the council and the administration has to negotiate with the Arts Council on a lease renewal.
Well, right now, I think the lease is doesn't really pay for it.
It does not cover its cost, correct?
Okay.
Not even for utilities.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. And as far as like the Shank farmhouse, they raise money also, so we do more capital and they do more of the operating maintenance, I believe.
Yes, we met with the Historical Society about a month ago, and because it's a township-owned property, we're gonna have to follow all the bidding and prevailing wage laws. So you will be getting a resolution either at the next meeting or in the meeting after to dedicate a trust fund just for the Skank Farm. And the plan is for the Historical Society to turn that money that they raised over to do maintenance items. It will go into a trust fund that the township has established just for that site, like we do for other locations. And then they can go out and get pricing for painting or, repairs, things of that are not capital items. So we had a really good meeting with them about a month ago. So they're getting some rough ideas on coming up with a list and costs of what they think, and then we're gonna have to go from there. But the first step is to do a dedication by rider. We approve the resolution, and I have to send it to the Division of Local Government, and then they approve it, and it's for donations for Skank Farm. And any monies raised or put in that account can only be used for the Skank Farm.
So we're not taking over the obligation but we're going to be using their trust fund money to for us to be doing the bidding for.
Correct.
yes.
Yep.
And if they do something where they have volunteers and they just buy paint,
That-
that's a different story. But if
Correct.
they are hiring a contractor, that's where this gets involved. And is that
Yes.
the way it is? Thank you.
What's the status of the roof project with the barn?
We're putting in money this year for that.
It's the capital.
It's a capital item,
Yeah.
so we can go over it when we get there. I think that's part
Um,
of your item, right?
No, actually, Sam.
Sam can discuss that when he's up
Oh,
later
okay.
today.
Yeah, I'm curious on that too.
We don't like
seeing the
sky.
Yeah, no, I think it's 175,000, which is probably more than cover it.
I thought it was 150, but I'd have to look at it.
Okay,
again.
150 off
yeah.
the top of my head. There's
Yeah.
a lot of line items.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
just curious because I know we rejected.
We have
it.
money already set aside
Yeah.
that was close to the last bid, so whatever is left over, we can do a general term and use it for any improvements in the future. So
Right,
that's
we're-
kind of our plan,
We did reject the last,
because it was over budget.
right, so.
And then we had another 25,000, which was close to it, but then prices even went up more, so we had to put more money in. But now we want this amount because this way we can set up a little more of a reserve once the roof is fixed. 'Cause I'm sure other things will have to be fixed.
Okay, and that'll be under Sam's because.
Yeah, he had bid that project. Yep.
Okay, okay, thanks. What,
Just a quick question. Once you set up the trust fund, who has control of the money? Is it the township?
Yes,
But it's dedicated to.
it is strict rules governed by the
Right.
Division of Local Government.
it's a lockbox type of.
It's
arrangement?
it's a escrow account. It's like not even our money. It can only be used for that site.
And anything that is over the bid threshold has to be brought to council for contract award. And in order to award a contract, the CFO has to certify the availability of funds in advance of you taking a formal vote.
And
then-
that's why they would have to give us the money first,
Okay,
so I can say that the funds are available.
and you'd say the funds came and you'd let us know that the funds were coming from the escrow and.
Absolutely, because it would be a resolution.
And there's a dedicated account that would be established because usually on the council action request form, the actual fund and account number is shown.
Correct.
So I would, like, if it's over, what, 17,000, something like that, it would.
Right. Under that, anything over around 2,600.
Right.
Up to
Yeah.
about 17.5, we can get 3 quotes. Anything over that, we have to
Publicly bid.
do a public bid and then get a resolution approval. So anything under that we can do, but with prevailing wage for a lot of the items now, it's pushing it over to 17.5. So most of the items are going to have to go out to bid.
Okay. But if they were just doing something like $1,000 plumbing job. for
Right,
instance, then.
right.
Right, we can just get a quote and
Yeah.
get a purchase order cut.
No. good.
Yep.
Okay, so it's pretty much like how we have to handle anything else.
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay, any other questions for the O and E part before we get to capital? Nope. Okay.
What page number?
All right. You're going to start on page 1 of the capital budget under administration tab.
So this is actually for our network and computer replacement program. It's $150,000, and this allows us to maintain and replace various computers, servers, software replacements, so we can keep our network functioning.
I had a question. With software being on subscription and we pay by the year, it's
Mhm.
still considered a capital expense?
That comes actually out of operating.
So it would be operating. So software that's a.
So say we bought a new computer switch. You can actually get a 5-year maintenance plan on that as part of the,
As part of your, when
procurement.
you're buying it.
Right.
Sort of like when you buy your.
Right.
Buy a, Mac or something. But on the, so on this here, we're not actually covering, where it says software replacement, we're not actually covering software if it's an annual, if it's a subscription. That comes in.
correct, that comes out of the operating budget, say for like our Microsoft Exchange servers.
Hmm.
That's all yearly. But if we go to replace, some of the network switches, which are, coming to the age where they need to be, that's when we'll purchase our 5-year maintenance plan as part of that physical equipment purchase.
Okay, so if we, so we can purchase it as part of the maintenance contract, but not the software itself? Or,
We presently, we've been able to purchase the software, correct? They still haven't forced us into a monthly subscription.
For
So
some of it.
for
Okay.
most items, right?
Mm.
So we're still able to purchase, and we do purchase, because with that, we get a 5-year license, a 5-year maintenance, 5-year everything, and then we know where we're at for 5 years versus a monthly subscription, which I have to go into the current fund.
Or even a yearly subscription or something.
Correct, yearly
Yeah,
subscription. So presently, we can still buy it. I think in 5 years, we probably won't be it.
So at some point, this might be less.
Correct.
And
yeah.
the operating expense might
Might go up.
go
right.
up, but it's still money,
Right.
whichever way we
Right.
do it, except we're not going to be able to
We're starting,
capitalize it.
yeah, we're starting to see that now, like so Microsoft, we just last year, we had to transfer over to the yearly annual subscription for majority of our Exchange servers.
I remember we had to all go through some kind of
Yeah, yeah.
crazy thing within a month or something. It
Yep.
was, yeah.
Oh, the
So,
the
The
email.
emails, yeah, right, so.
All right, thanks.
Yep. So the page 2 is requesting $25,000 for our van replacement. This would supplement our 2021 funding. Last year in 2022, council actually passed a resolution purchasing a 2022 Ford cargo van. However, the manufacturer did not produce those vans, unfortunately. Good news is they're producing them in 2023 and we're on the list. Bad news is that they're not going to honor their discount prices that they did anymore.
Oh,
So
okay. So.
Yeah. So is that still the best van?
we've
Or is
looked
there
at,
a Chevy van or something?
so
that's
it
cheaper?
depends on what's on state contract.
Okay.
So
So is this still the best deal?
yes, right now.
For what
So
we
it's
need.
the current $25,000 we have still is not enough for the best van we can get. So unfortunately,
You also-
25,000 from 21. And then
Correct.
now we're
Right.
adding
adding,
to it.
Do you also look at Houston Galveston as far as
Yes.
pricing goes?
yep, we looked at Houston Galveston, we looked at the state NJ Start, we looked at the ECNJ co-op purchasing program. A lot of the vendors don't have any stock that they can sell because
Is that a
the
chip issue?
a chip issue and the manufacturers, weren't producing during COVID, so. unfortunately.
Supply chain.
Supply
is
chain issues, yep.
Still.
And that is replacing a van from 1997, which was given over to the police department from the Hyatt. And when that wasn't utilized anymore for police, that was transferred over to us.
Yeah, I see when this was written, it said it was 23 years old. I
Yeah.
think it's actually a little
More
older
than
now.
that, yes.
Yeah, if you had 23 tonight. so.
Yeah, so 26, yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
The next line item is just general improvements for the municipal complex. The 25,000 we request every year to build up a little bit of reserve. This actually gets utilized for everything from LED streetlights that go out in the parking lot to concrete that we'd have to repair, bollards anywhere in the complex as well. So. The next page is the 25,000 general improvement fund for our health and recreation building. We had anticipated that as building the little bit of revenues up, we could utilize this for the emergency generator project. We did find out that I believe the health department received a grant from the state, which included costs for the generator itself. It is a reimbursement type grant though, so we would have to spend the money and then get reimbursed for that.
So that's underway.
Yes, yeah, that's actually currently out to bid right now, so that project.
But we still have to spend the money and get it back, so we won't have to bond for this money.
The next page is fire alarm upgrades for our fire and EMS building. When staff took that building over and started utilizing it 24/7, they reconfigured the layout inside for their needs. And the existing fire alarm just needs to really be adapted and kind of replaced because I believe it is one of the original fire protection systems in that building. So it's recommended that we replace that entire fire alarm system over there. The next page or so we are requesting additional funds in 2024 for sprinklering the fire and EMS building. Since we do have staff in there 24/7, The type of use, I believe, has changed, and it's being recommended by the fire and EMS director to sprinkler that system to protect the staff in that site. But we're looking to fund that in 2024. Page 7 is just security system upgrades that we have for various buildings. This allows us to add additional card access or security cameras or emergency notification systems in the majority of our buildings, or replace cameras that go bad, or card access items. Page 8 is requesting an additional $125,000 for the underground fuel storage tank removal and replacement at our police department. Back in, I believe it was 2019, DEP inspection found some potential violations which were abated, but the regulations have changed since then. So because we're considered self-insured, it's recommended that we take out a tank that's 94, so 29 years old, just to prevent any type of underground contamination, which we would be responsible for remediating. We would put in a above ground fuel storage system, almost like what we have at our public works department, and as well replace the gas pumping system that the police department currently use.
So if I remember, and I see it's in here in 2021, we had heard about the
Yes.
Tanks and the risk of leaking and
Yep.
the remediation costs and stuff. And there was some money allocated.
Correct. This would
So-
supplement the 2021 funding.
So was that not enough to do?
It's
that
enough
job,
to do
or-
the actual removal and reinstallation of a new one. It's not enough to do the environmental and engineering work that's required by the NJDEP for approval for that.
So we need the additional money to essentially do that project.
Yeah, I mean, we could start doing the work now, get the engineering work done, get the environmental work done, but we would not have enough to actually physically relocate the.
Okay, and this'll
That's
finish
what I'm
the
being,
whole thing. We'll be
yeah,
able to
that's what I'm
get
being told by
underground
the
tanks
environmental
out and
engineers.
Replace them and not have
Right.
to worry about what's going on down there anymore.
Correct. Yeah, that's what I'm being told by the
Mhm.
environmental engineer.
Anyone have questions on so far?
Yeah, so we basically now have 175 from 2021. And additional 125, so that brings us to.
300.
300.
We said 400.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Page 9 is just $5,000 for general improvement for the art center. We do have funds that we've been building up, as well as funds that were allocated for architectural fees related to the future renovation of the existing service bays. But this would just add to that.
Are you on 9 or 10?
Yes, page 9.
Page 9.
Plus,
Uh,
these are the general improvements from.
Yeah.
I think,
Page 12.
Um,
Yes.
okay.
With the
Okay.
architectural fees, I mean.
10 is the bays, and that's going to be the event, page 10 is, that's not this year, but that's the one to actually look at the bays itself, right?
That's page 10 would be the actual renovating the additional service bays, correct?
Okay, and 9 would be general
Just general
improvements.
improvements. that have been in.
And just while we're on Arts Council, I'm sorry, Linda, did you try to say something?
No, I was wondering, it was always the timing of when we put money in the budget for the architect, to do the assessment. But then I guess if we go out to bid or whatever is agreed to correct what needs to be done, it sort of has the timing has to kind of go close together. So are we thinking that we'll have the architect come in this year to do an assessment or next year or?
So that's correct. You want to do the assessment close to when you're actually going to bid the actual reconstruction project, because codes do change. You wouldn't want to spend money this year on architectural bidding documents and then go out to bid 3 or 4 years from now for renovating that space, because we would have to revise the architectural bid plans and specs.
Yeah, my question, as you know, the Arts Council won a grant, if you will, and they're doing, I
Yes.
think it was for like 95,000, right, a little under 100 to do indoor, outdoor.
They're doing the electric kiln, they're doing a
Right.
covered porch in the rear, some fencing, some
Mm.
lighting.
So at what point is that any expense to us, or are we involved other than, do we review it, or do we go any further? Are there any pieces we have to upgrade to work with theirs?
I think currently right now it's in front of or it's, I believe it's been submitted to the planning department for review to see if it's complete as an actual application. They do have to go in front of the planning board for that project. They are not out to bid at this point. But as far as I know, they are trying to submit for planning board review.
So
And
planning,
do they-
not zoning board, planning board?
I'm sorry, Linda, I didn't hear you.
I thought they were gonna go before the zoning board, but you're saying it's definitely the planning board?
Is it,
That
Sam
be
would
a
have that.
Sam would know.
It's one of the land
It's one of the land
use
use boards.
It depends on whether they need a variance.
Right.
With,
And Sam can
Yeah.
address your
Hmm.
questions when he's here.
Right.
Yeah, I'm-
You could be right, Linda. It could be the zoning. board.
yeah, at this point, I'm just curious if there's any budget thing for us that we have to
There's
help
going
with
to be
it.
Electricity costs.
Okay, I was wondering if we had to upgrade the whole electrics for it, and then and also when they go before the board, or if they go for bid, do they do the bid, go out for bid, or do we go out for bid on that?
It's going to be probably us because it's the township owned facility.
So there will be some expense on our side.
Yeah,
that-
internally, we're going to have to probably review the bid documents. We're going to have to help them go out for public bidding. We're going to have to make sure it's prevailing wage. Make sure certified payrolls get done, just a normal local public contract law.
Okay, and that wouldn't be that would be an operating expense for us.
Yeah,
then.
it'd just be, my time to help them.
Unless we need a huge electrical upgrade of some kind, like,
Correct.
all new panels, in which case now that would be a
Part of
capital,
our,
I would assume.
right, that would be part of our capital. money.
What, if you recall the grant application, there is going to be the need for additional electrical service because I
Kiln.
believe the plan is to be able to use the outdoor area in the evening for activities and possibly gatherings and the like.
Right, so if we have to do that,
They
does that
want to
come,
kiln.
if that's
as
an
well.
electric kiln, that's gonna be a real,
The Shed, I think.
yeah, the shed, but the kiln would probably be a really hot.
Well,
also. Yeah, but
we have 40,000 already set aside for capital
Okay.
improvements, and if you add the 5,000, then make it 45,000.
so that would be and that wouldn't come from the grant?
No.
We would have to then provide that.
Oh, actually, I can't say that. It might.
Right,
I'm not
okay.
familiar totally with the way the grant was written.
Okay, so there may be some expense, but it doesn't sound like it's gonna be a
Right.
huge amount. Okay, thank you.
We have
Linda, do you have
set
any-
aside, was it, I think it was for like $40,000 or more for the architect. Is that separate? And then we would need another.
Yeah, that's separate, Linda. That was, I believe it was $50,000. I want to say back in 2000,
It goes back there a while.
yes,
You're going back
Yeah.
to the,
2015.
But that's not included in that price.
wait, are you going back to the bays when you're talking about that?
Yeah.
Was it,
Yeah,
so a lot of this
2015.
upgrade of work has this been like agreements between the township and the Arts Council as to who is going to be responsible for what in terms of a lot of these electrical upgrades and different things?
It's part of our present lease agreement. And this year the lease is up and we will be negotiating with them for a new lease.
Right, but that negotiation is based on the current building, but if we expand the building, do the bays, different things, I assume that the township would be responsible for paying for the upgrades to code. So I don't know if there's any like a separate discussion on all of that.
I
Or
think,
just the basic
I
lease.
think with the lease having to be renegotiated, the administration needs to look at the entire facility globally and make a recommendation as to what changes and modifications or additions need to be made to the lease in order for the town to cover its expenses. And to cover its expenses would probably result in an increase in rent. So I suspect before there's further discussions about, improving the bays, we need to have an estimate of what the costs are to make those improvements and then what the likely operating costs are. And I don't know what the financial condition is of the Arts Council in order to pay whatever rent is agreed upon. And that council is willing to accept in exchange.
Right. I think you've clearly outlined, a process moving forward and what has to happen. And, and for us to have those discussions, so we know, and they know too.
Okay.
Okay, and just one on that thing where they're adding with the grant. Who's going to be responsible for the maintenance of that?
We are.
We are for that, and at that
Until we negotiate.
Right.
Presently, as the
We will
lease is
be
written.
right now under the
responsible.
current lease.
And then, under the current lease, because the Township Council and administration brought a recommendation because they wanted to apply for this grant through the State Arts Council, I believe, or the State Council on Arts. So once that work gets done, if there are operating expenses, we will probably have to assume that additional expense. Exactly when that might occur, I'm off.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. When that might occur, depends upon when the project gets out to bid and completed. So we need to be thinking the middle of the year, what terms and conditions that are in the lease need to be modified or revised or adjusted, and based upon what the staging is going to be of the outdoor improvements and then any indoor improvements, the lease should probably be modified, or language can be added that we reserve the right to reopen the negotiation based upon improvements that might trigger an increase in operating costs.
Okay. The leases are usually 1 year, so
No.
In
Oh,
the
no,
past, it has been
I know there was one thing where we
it was a
extended it.
10-year.
Yeah.
Originally, it was 10 years with another 10-year extension. What has happened was, I think we went year to year.
Yeah.
Beginning in, I think just before COVID, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we went year to year, but we added 1 year so that they could get the grant.
Correct. That was.
And
Yes.
right,
And they-
so
actually, the state agency that approved the grant needed that assurance.
right, because they wanted to
That
be
was
sure
a
they had the building.
condition.
Mhm.
We needed to provide documentation as the township and the owner of the property that the Arts Council was going to be in that facility for a year plus because of the grant money that was awarded.
Right, I remember we had that whole discussion and we did that. So we're up for lease, and presumably all of this discussion can occur as
So
part of that.
if I understand correctly, last year we had done that extension so that they could apply for. the
Right, they
grant
wanted,
money.
they wanted to be able to prove to whoever they were applying for the grant money that they had the right to that building, and therefore if they're paying for the improvement, they actually can use the improvement. Yeah.
Right.
So, all right, so it's something for us to look at, but there are a lot of questions, I guess, when we do this list. Thank you.
Page 12 is request for 25,000 for interior improvements for the senior center. This program would help replace a lot of the original windows in the first section of the building, which are starting to leak, as well as some painting that would be required, and some ceiling standard tiles for replacement as well.
Any
Page
questions?
13.
Page.
Page 14 is a $50,000 request for the Princeton Junction Volunteer Fire Station infrastructure improvements. This program would help alleviate and replace aging operating systems in the building, HVAC systems. They could replace some of their air compressor systems, as well as build up money for their parking lot that is going to be needing to be replaced, in the near future. And that's it for me. It's gay.
That's, hey, so that's it for township buildings. Linda, did you have any questions?
No.
Nope, you're good. Does anybody else have any more questions for Brian? No? Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Brian.
Brian.
And thank you for the beautiful building.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Council President, can we take a recess for?
Yeah, at this point, we've got clerk's office, and then we're gonna have community development. So I'd like to get a poll with people want to do a lunch after clerk's office, or do you want to just take a break? And what's the feeling here?
We'll do the clerk's office and then break.
Mine's 3 minutes, unless you have a lot of questions.
Wait, oh, no, I mean,
We've got a
and
lot of
so,
questions.
yeah, okay, at that point, we can question whether you want to
You
do
ask
a
me
lunch
for
break
next.
or try to get through.
Yes, if
Okay.
we could do the clerks.
Let's
and
do the
then
clerks,
do the
then we'll
lunch break.
we'll do our lunch break. Yeah, I was gonna do the clerks beforehand.
Yeah.
So I'm Gay Huber, the township
You go
clerk,
on page 1.
Yep.
In your OE budget summary.
and my budgets are all flat. The clerks, the election, and the council's budget for this year. We continued our operations through 2022, changing procedures as needed due to the municipal building renovations. We continued our licensing. Our secretary has completed 3 of the 5 courses to receive her registered municipal clerk certification, which is part of the, I can't think of my retirement plan.
No, you're
Succession plan.
you're
Thank
never
you.
retiring, Gay.
Talk to my husband. We started a new campaign in 2022, getting the word out for residents to sign up for e-bulletins so they can stay informed, because that seems to be one of the biggest things we hear at council meetings. We did have some increase, but we could definitely use more. It will be in, just so you know, in the WWP paper that comes out, I think this month or next month, I forget which month I put it in for, with a little ad that says, stay informed. Our Oprah requests were up over 1,000 for 2022, but we continue to get them out in our 7 business days, unless there's a huge request. And then we ask within 2 days, we advise the requester that we will need additional time and what that time is.
You're saying an additional 1,000 for?
No, we did over 1,000. And in 2021, we did 913. So each year it just seems everybody wants to know about everything. We had a successful reorg meeting last year. We had another successful reorg this year. We had our meeting in our room. I am grateful to be back here and thank everyone who made this room possible. Other than that, the clerk's office continued to do all of our statutory requirements, all of our licensing and everything. And that's it for that part.
Okay.
There's
Anybody?
a couple of capital items. If you
Yeah.
go to your administration tab, page 15 and 16.
So I do ask every year or every other year for additional funding for scanners so that we can continue our scanning process into Laserfiche, which is
a very big time saver for all departments, especially in our Oprah world. It makes life so much easier than to have to pull paper files, make copies, and then get them to our requesters. The other one that I have is shelving. We did purchase shelving for our new secured storage. This is to supplement that and to possibly use it for other areas in the facility that may need additional shelving for the retention of records.
Okay, and that's going to be a cost savings that we don't have to send that,
Yes.
send those out and then pay every time we want to look at a document.
And yes, and at least 15 years ago, when we had documents out, it was $100 a box out and $100 if I put the box back in. So I'm sure now that those prices have increased. We will be this year, hopefully, or early next year, doing another large purge. As you know, before we moved, we did all the departments did a great job of reviewing their records, the records that we could get rid of legally through the state of New Jersey requirements were done. I think we did 400 or 500 boxes and stuff. We're starting to slowly work on that. Again, most of the boxes before we do destroy them, or most of that stuff is scanned. So if it's stuff that we need for the future, we will always have it for access. So.
Okay, are there any questions for Gay for clerk's office? No? Linda? No? Thank you, Gay. Okay, I'm going to call a recess for lunch, if that's what everybody would like right now. I have 11:42. Do you want to make it 12:30 or do you want to make it a little shorter? I'm willing to listen to consensus here. Just 12:30?
You have to leave at a certain point, so
12:15.
12:15.
12:15.
You'd like 12:15? I'll give us a half hour. Okay, that's fine.
Sounds good.
We will reconvene at 12:15, at which case we'll hear the Community Development Department for today. Thank you.